What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the channel. Today we're talking animation, and in this video we're going to be focusing on Piskel, which is a great website for animating sprites and simple animations. So let's get into it. Hello and welcome. And in this video we're going to be talking about pixel art, and we're going to be using piskelapp.com, which is a great online resource for you to create your animations. You can create sprites, GIFs, and PNGs right here. And really simple, you just click on the create sprite and boom, brings you right into the application. On the left-hand side, you have all your simple drawing tools, pen tool, eraser, hand tool to move things around, eyedropper, and so forth. On the right-hand side is where you have your layers. You could transform the objects you create really simply here by, flipping it horizontally, vertically. You could also, of course, rotate tool, and you could also clone objects. On the left top side is where you could add frames and you could duplicate frames. Really easy for frame by frame animation. And speaking of frame by frame animation, on the top right hand side here, you have an awesome preview section. So when you create something and you have more than one frame, you could start to animate. And its default is 12 FPS or frames per second, which is great. That's all you really need to work in. If you want to go more frames per second, of course, it's more work, but you'll have smoother animations. You could easily do an animation in, even 6 FPS for a project like we're going to do here. So another really important thing in this application is on the right, middle, all the way to the right, your preferences are all right here. So you could change your FPS right here. You could change your layer opacity, even the grid. It's all easily editable. You can resize. We're doing 32 pixels by 32 pixels, which is like, a standard for 8-bit graphics. And then, of course, you can save. You can save things. Please get in the habit of naming the things that you make. All right, I'm making a rocket ship, so guess what I'm going to call it? Rocket ship. Please name the things you make so you can actually find them. In the description, I'm going to call this what are we making? I'm making a retro video game. So that's what I'm going to put in my description. Cool. Now, 2 ways to save. You can save it as a Piskel file, which is really good because now you could save it, put it somewhere, put it in a Dropbox, put it in Google, Google Drive or whatever, and then you could bring it back into Piskel later. So that's a cool feature if you're not working on the same computer every time. If you are working on the same computer all the time, just save it in browser, especially if you're doing a quick session like this. So successfully saved, bottom right-hand side, good, boom, let's start to draw. All right, you see at the top, it says rocket ship, so it knows what I'm doing. If you're drawing a character that has arms and legs, like a humanoid, figure, then it's going to be, you can absolutely do it. You could do it, if you're doing like a walk cycle, it's a little bit more work, but yeah, you can absolutely do it in here. But I'm going to do a simple object. It's a lot easier to animate, a lot easier to draw. So if you're having a hard time, pick something easy to do. Pick something that's going to go a little bit quicker. All right. If I hit the minus key, I'm going to zoom out, plus key, minus, or plus key, I zoom in. That's an important thing to know because as you're drawing, you're going to need to zoom in and out. If you want to know other little cool shortcut keys, click on this keyboard shortcuts. It's all right here. I don't have to memorize anything. And the more you actually use this and use shortcut keys, you're going to start to remember them and your workflow will speed up. Okay, so, and I think you can also customize these too, but you can always restore defaults as well. So I'm going to start to draw. This is my favorite tool right now. This is the vertical mirror pen tool, which is great because I can actually draw symmetrically this way. If I click, hold, and drag, wherever I go, it mirrors the other side. So I can make my symmetrical rocket here. Awesome. And if you make mistakes, which often happens, that's fine. Like I make mistakes all the time. If you do, just Command Z. All right, Command Z will undo. All right, cool. So I have the basic form of my rocket. I'm going to put in my flight deck where the pilot sits. Maybe I'll put a little bit of design here and here. All right, cool. And, I might want to move this up, right? So what's an easy way, to do that? I can just undo this. And yeah, I think I'll just, there we go. That's looking a little bit better. I want to give myself a little more room in here. Perfect. All right, cool. So we have the basic formation of our rocket. Let's get some color on here. All right. When you're coloring, you have primary color and you have secondary colors, which is great because if I change my color here and I want to color the secondary color, you just hit your right click instead of your left click, and then you have that secondary color. So it speeds up the workflow. So I'm going to start with red. And I'm going to use my paint bucket. I'm just going to color that in red. I'm going to go with blue for my wings. And you know what? Maybe I'll make a little edit here. I'm going to erase this line. I'm going to make one little change here. There we go. And I'm going to make this piece here. I'm going to go with white here and white here. And I'm going to go with a gray tone for the boosters down over here. I want it to be kind of metallic looking. Now, a really important thing to think about as well when you're creating your characters and they're being animated and moving around any background, you want the colors to have some contrast with the background. So if this rocket is flying up against a blue sky, it's going to look great. But once it goes into, let's say, out into space, when it's all, black in space, this black outline is going to get lost. So let me show you a cool way to change all of that color in one shot. So what I might do is I might pick up some of this blue that I've been using. I might take this eyedropper tool, click on that blue, and then I can use this paint all pixels, the same color tool, and I could actually just click that and now it's all blue. Now, I'm not saying that that looks great or that I want to use that. It's not bad, but for now, I'm going to just keep it black, and I'm going to add some shading to this. Yes, you can add shading to add depth to what is really essentially a flat graphic, right? So I'm just going to clean up a couple little things. I'm going to change that. I'm going to keep the rest of this, maybe get rid of there and there. That's looking a little bit better. All right, cool. So here's a really easy way to do this. I'm going to use the eyedropper tool to get that red that I had before. I could select that red. I could actually copy its hex code, go to my secondary color, put it in there, and then just drop down a little bit darker. And I could draw that in. I can use that with my right click. But I don't have to draw everything in. I could leave this area and then use my paint bucket tool to fill all that in. Now it looks really nice. All right, cool. Same thing with, my gray. I can just pick that gray up, but that's a little too dark against that white. You want contrast, but you don't want too much contrast between your shades. So really simple. I'm just going to lighten that up a little bit. Boom, boom. That looks much better. And then for the gray in here, I'm going to go a little bit darker. Not too dark. I want it to be different than the black. There we go. That's perfect. And then, of course, the wings, right? One wing on the right side, for example, I'm going to keep it that blue. The other blue, I'm going to go lighter. So whatever blue this is, I'm just going to bring it down or up, depending on, like, actually, yeah, it needs to be a little bit darker on this side, right? Let's go darker. There we go. Cool. So we have our illustration. We're ready to animate. So I hope this was helpful to you. In the next video, I will be animating this. So if this was helpful to you and you, use these things that are in this video for your own projects, please hit the like, hit the subscribe, and I will see you next time.